Well, how the heck are you guys doing? It is, I don't know, Monday, 12:33. The White House press conference is going to be in a little bit, and I suppose that's going to be relatively interesting. We could be covering two different things. One, we could be covering, well, and we likely will cover the shoot down of whatever the heck it is we're shooting down across the United States. Also, there's some breaking news out of, well, I guess it's the United States for Russia, right? If you're in Russia and you're a United States citizen, you should get the F out, according to our government. The United States has told its citizens to leave Russia immediately due to the war in Ukraine and the risk of arbitrary arrest or harassment by Russian law enforcement officials, which is funny because isn't that what they do here? I'm just being honest, right? U.S. citizens residing in Moscow or residing or traveling in Russia should depart immediately, said the U.S. Embassy in Moscow. Exercise increased caution due to the risk of wrongful detentions, they said. Do not travel to Russia. Russian security, and this is why. They say Russian security services have arrested U.S. citizens on spurious charges, singled out U.S. citizens in Russia for detention and harassment, denied them fair and transparent treatment, and convicted them in secret trials or without presenting credible evidence, according to the embassy. They say Russian authorities arbitrarily enforce laws against U.S. citizens, religious workers, and have opened questionable criminal investigations against U.S. citizens engaged in religious activity. The Kremlin said it was not the first time U.S. citizens have been asked to leave Russia. The last such public warning was in September after President Vladimir Putin ordered a partial mobilization. The Kremlin says that they have been voiced by the State Department many times in the last period, so this is not a new thing. The Federal Security Service, FSB, the Russian FBI, said in January that prosecutors have opened a criminal case against a United States citizen on suspicion of espionage. Last December, U.S. basketball star Brittany Griner was released in a prison swap, having been sentenced to 9 years in a penal colony for possessing vape cartridges containing cannabis oil, which is banned in Russia. And I would like to mention that cannabis oil is also banned in many United States states, and it's a felony if you get caught with it. But for some reason, Brittany Griner was made the exception to the rule, and the United States as a whole was happy to have her back, according to, well, the media, because that's how they portray it. But that is the truth. That is the truth. She should still be in jail, if you ask me. Because then you have people like Paul Whelan, a former U.S. Marine, serving a 16-year sentence in a Russian penal colony. He was convicted of espionage charges that Washington says are a sham. But even though he was there longer than Brittany Griner and he's facing more time, they got Brittany Griner out, but did not, and left Paul Whelan in Russian custody, which it doesn't make a hell of a lot of sense at all, right? Because you got one guy that was a U.S. Marine, and then you got another lady that refused to stand for the national anthem. You know what I mean? Which one do we want back? Well, I guess we got her. That's which one. That's what was wanted of. That's what the Biden administration wanted. And they get what they want, right? Just like all these shoot downs. So yesterday I went live during the day briefly and talked about the shoot down. So for anyone that lives under a rock and you don't know what's been transpiring, so the Chinese spy balloon was shot down approximately 9 days ago, right? Off the coast of South Carolina after it traversed the entirety of the United States, documenting all sorts of classified information and intercepting, apparently the newest release, intercepting or the phone calls, possibly intercepting the phone calls of you, me, everybody else that, you know, wherever it was in proximity to capture, right? The big ass balloon that was captured. By the way, I am at the coffee shop, so if I do have to step away because someone comes in, I will do that. However, one lady did just come in while I was talking to another customer, and she saw like the ammo cans and that were like a patriotic store, and she quickly turned around and left. Like, no joke. She came in, she was like, oh no, and left. You know, whatever, more power to her. But yeah, it's crazy stuff. Crazy stuff going on. So this is what else. So the Chinese spy balloon was shut down, and the media was pretty, intensive. They were trying to get some answers as to what the heck happened in China, or what the heck happened in South Carolina, and they weren't really able to get any information. And then on Friday, the United States announced 12 minutes into a press conference that for the second time since World War II, United States military shot down an enemy craft, or an enemy, an unauthorized craft. This time it was over the coast of Russia, over the coast of Alaska. And again, just the timing and how they actually released that information, I firmly believe that if that reporter did not ask the question about the shoot down, we wouldn't even have known it happened, right? So that was a big deal. That was around 3:45 that they shot that one down. And that was Friday afternoon. And then on Saturday, we received notification that the NORAD was tracking 2 additional unidentified aircraft, whatever you want to call them, over North America on Saturday, right? And then we learned that one of those unidentified aircraft was shot down in Canada by a United States F-22, and that was down around 1:45 p.m. on Saturday, right? And then on Saturday, right after we finished covering that, F-15s, I think they were F-15s, scrambled out of Portland and flew over to Montana, where the Defense Department shut down a ton of space, essentially a 50 square mile range, and made it extremely illegal to fly in that range because of some other unidentified flying object that was out there, right? Which is, it's kind of crazy. So you got that, the one that was shot down in Alaska, the one that was shot down in Yukon. Then the United States closes airspace, citing national defense initiatives over Montana. And then they're unable to find anything. So those F-22s fly back to Portland. They land there. And we think we're done, right? Well, no. Nope. Because F-15s or F-22s, again, armed with Sidewinder missiles, flew over the Great Lakes yesterday and shot down another one of these sons of a guns, whoever the hell they are or whatever they are, this time in Michigan over the Great Lakes, which is insane. So far, the United States has shot down 4 enemy aircraft. Let's just call them enemy aircraft because we don't even know what they are. So far in the past, this was in 8 days, they shot down 4 enemy aircraft over the United States, allegedly, is what they're saying. And again, it hasn't happened in the United States that we've shot down enemy aircraft over our own territory since World War II. So the fact that the president hasn't, addressed Americans is outrageous to me. I mean, I didn't really have high expectations that he was going to address Americans or that he was going to talk about it. But I kind of thought he would. I kind of thought he would be like, hey, Americans, I got something to tell you. This is very important. We may or may not be under attack by who knows what, right? So a journalist, which was kind of funny, because during the press conference with the Ministry of Defense spokesperson for Canada, the question was asked, are we dealing with extraterrestrial? Literally, the journalist said, I never thought I'd be asking this in my years of journalism, but are we dealing with something out of this world? Is this like an alien or something? To which the lady kind of laughed and said, I'm a big believer of facts, and we tend not to make assumptions that are not based on facts, so I can't answer that. But then she said something that was different, because she said it kind of resembled, and which was contrary to what the initial reporting was, she said it kind of resembled a smaller version of what was shot down. She kept saying over North Carolina, not South Carolina, which leads me to believe, was there another one shot down in North Carolina, last week? I think she was just misspeaking. But she said it resembled that. Like it was a smaller balloon and it had a payload below it, but it was the size of a car, not the size of 3 school buses like the big Chinese spy balloon that they shut down. So it's kind of crazy, bro. It's kind of crazy that this, nobody's talking. To me, it's crazy that Biden hasn't, held a public address where he's talking to the American public and trying to reassure us that aliens aren't going to invade the United States or something like that. I would much rather have these all be Chinese spy balloons than anything else. Wouldn't you guys? I mean, because at least then we know it's China. If we're shooting down things that we don't know what they are, we can't explain how they're floating in the air, and it's too odd for me. You know what I mean? And that's why I believe that we're all being misled. I don't believe they're shooting anything down. That's why we don't have pictures of anything. I don't believe they're shooting anything down. I think what they're doing is they're keeping us all to look over here while they do some shady shit over here. And I don't know what shady shit they're doing. But that's my belief, is that we're all being distracted. Because none of it makes any sense otherwise. You know what I mean? None of it makes any sense. They have to be doing something underhanded. That's just my belief. And I could be way off base here, but I just don't know. For me, it seems a little too far-fetched to say that they're shooting out flying saucers out of the sky and we're suddenly hearing about it. I hear all the arguments that after the Chinese spy balloon, they put new filters on their radar software, and that's why it's picking up all these new objects that are flying over our country all the time. But think about how crazy that is, right? Because if you change the filtering of what you're listening to prior to that on your radars, you were missing this all along. Think about the sheer number. 3 shot down in a 36-hour period. It's insane. It's insane. Tina said, did I ever talk about the train derailment on Ohio-Pennsylvania border? Yes, we have. We covered it from the very beginning. I think April wrote a big article on rationalamerican.locals.com as well about it. And it's funny, that's another thing that's weird, is a lot of people are they agree with me on the distraction portion of this conversation and saying they too believe it's a distraction, and they believe it's a distraction from what the government did or whoever authorized them to explode those tankers in Palestine, Ohio, I believe it was. Because those tankers, it's having lasting consequences and it's going to for years and years. It essentially looked like they released a nuclear bomb, because for anyone that doesn't know, there's a huge train wreck, maybe a week and a half ago in Ohio. I think it was Palestine, Ohio or something like that. And someone said, I don't know why you're comparing me to Lookner, because I'm way better looking and way more informed. But I forgot what I was saying now. I got distracted by a comment in the chat. That's why I hate the chat. Someone said, you love this hoodie. Is it in the store? No, it's not. It's actually the last one of this design too. Because you know what I was doing? I was drinking coffee this morning. And I took a sip, but I completely missed my mouth. And so I got coffee all over my Wake Up America sweatshirt. So this one was up on display in the front of the store. And I took it down and put it on. And it's a 2X, not a 3X. So it's a little bit tighter than I typically like, but it works. Eric Williams said he's an Ohio resident. A lot of unanswered questions surrounding the train derailment. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know really what is going on. Guys, please don't put other chats, MD, Zolfran, Islam, whatever, on Facebook. Don't put other links in my chat, please. It's disrespectful. But yeah, there's this tanker exploded, and it was carrying a bunch of extremely toxic, extremely carcinogenic chemicals on it, right? And they were worried that this, because it derailed, and then it was a long-lasting fire, and the fire was heating up these tankers that had this extremely hazardous chemical on board, right? And so someone made the decision. They did a mandatory evacuation shortly before the coordinated explosion. They did a mandatory evacuation of a 1 mile radius, I believe it was, because they were worried that as this tanker heated up, eventually it was going to explode, sending shrapnel up to 1 mile away. That's what they said, and that was in the middle of last week. And the news of this whole train derailment was kind of overshadowed by the Chinese spy balloon. So not a lot of attention has been paid to it. However, I'm guessing we're going to hear some commentary today during the White House press conference, because a lot of people are assuming that these shoot downs and things like that of whatever the hell they're shooting out of the sky, that those things are a distraction from whatever, what happened in Ohio, because they made a decision. Whoever makes the decision to do this type of thing, someone made a decision and blew up those tankers, right? And what they're calling a controlled explosion, where they which doesn't make any sense, because they controlled an explosion that then released all of this toxic, carcinogenic, horrible gas into the atmosphere and into the earth and into everybody who was anywhere near it. I saw a news clip where one person said, it's like they set off a nuclear bomb of these chemicals, right? Because the chemical, it's still raining down. I saw a picture of a vehicle that was driving through like a nearby interstate or something, and they stopped and they had white shit all over their car from whatever this chemical was. And it's crazy, man. It is absolutely crazy. Teresa said, is the hoodie on the website? No, I don't even make this design anymore. So this is why you guys got to buy the Patriotic SF bundles. This was a design that we gave away in the Patriotic SF bundles. That's why you got to follow what I say. Because most of the designs that we put in those Patriotic SF ammo cans, they're not designs that you're going to get online. They're not designs we carry in store. They're specific for those bundles. And this was one of them that we did in shirts and t-shirts. So yeah, this design isn't available anywhere else. But it's awesome, right? I love it. But yeah, I really don't know. Someone said, I've told people this is design, this is why they call me crazy, but yet wonder why everything is going to shit. Yeah, it's no matter who you are, or how you think about it, the whole way that this is happening is quite perplexing. You know what I mean? Someone said, and it's in the middle of farmland and the animals are now dying. Someone said, I saw pigs. Here's the thing, guys. You got to realize with social media, they all lie. They all lie. That's why you have pictures of flying saucers that are doctored. You have pictures of shit that's going on with the war in Ukraine that's doctored as well. If you find it on Twitter, or you find it on Facebook, or you find it on YouTube even, just assume it's fake. You know what I mean? Just assume it's fake, because it's not real. Someone said, am I still doing a rap song? Yeah, once I get to once I sell another yearly Patriotic SF bundle, I'm still working on the Joe Biden song. But once I do another yearly Patriotic SF bundle, I will I'll do a rap song about Kamala Harris, like full rap video and everything. But yeah, it's crazy. April, if April's in the chat, she could post the link to you. But yeah. MD Jorol blah 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 on Facebook. Please stop posting it. Last warning. Matter of fact, fuck your warnings. You're just a troll anyway. Block user. There you go. So now you can't post the links anymore. April will put the link to the Patriotic as F yearly bundle in the chat. She just did it. So there we go. MTG is talking about Ohio now. Where is she talking about Ohio? And here's the thing, is a lot of people are talking about Ohio now, but I feel, unfortunately, they're doing it because it's the easiest thing to throw shade at, right? What's happening in Ohio. Because we don't know what's happening anywhere in this country right now. I mean, look, people were sharing out on social media as soon as today in Brooklyn, New York, there was a U-Haul that ran over 3 people on the sidewalk. Immediately, people were putting it out with the caption that police are investigating terrorism. There's no evidence that they were investigating terror. I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that on the news broadcast. I didn't hear that anywhere, except people are saying that it was, terrorist activity and that the police are investigating it as an act of terror. I didn't hear any of that. You know what I mean? And it's, you meant she's posting about it, discussing it. Yeah. I hope that what everyone is saying about this Ohio, chemical explosion, I hope it's all wrong. You know what I mean? But like, I've seen the videos. I haven't seen any pictures of animals dying in the middle of fields, like someone said in the chat. But I have seen photos of what appear to be dead fish in a creek, right? or something like that. And we don't know if that's localized. If we don't know anything. There's no metadata on those videos to prove that they're even filmed anywhere remotely close to this, or if they're from this. And maybe it's just me, but I'm a skeptic of anything. If the media, and that's the biggest reason why I'm a skeptic of whatever the hell is going on with the shoot downs, is because the media is all universally recording it or talking about it. CNN is talking about it as Chinese spy balloons. Fox News is talking about it as Chinese spy balloons. Everyone is talking about it as Chinese spy balloons, which leads me to think two things. One, it's either not Chinese spy balloons and nobody knows what it is. Or two, it didn't even happen in the first place. And our government is throwing some big op on us to do what? To take away from a controlled explosion that is likely going to kill and a lot of people over the next 20 years? I don't think so. So what the hell are they trying to cover up? You know what I mean? What are they trying to come up? Joey Anderson said whales are coming up dead on Oregon beaches. Newsflash, whales, turn up dead on beaches across the United States every single day or every single year. It happens all the time. But Susan said, what about the chemical spill in Pennsylvania and Ohio? Because Susan just came into the show and didn't realize that we've just been talking about it for several minutes. But that's okay, Susan. I'm not going to rehash it, though, because I don't want to. Again, I keep checking up in the mirror to make sure we don't have anyone that walks in the front. DJ Me on Twitch said it's nothing more than Joe Biden playing with his party balloons. That's what his handlers told him. They think he's just having a birthday party. Okay. More misinformation. Michelle said, like the thing they shot down in Alaska would fall down and shoot, or fall down to break into millions of pieces, like they said too. Yeah, none of it makes any sense, and that's why I think it's all fake. But what are they trying to hide? You know what I mean? What are they trying to hide? And Actalicious Gaming on YouTube, I don't know how you even say your name, but you said people should go, get your people on the streets. They should film it, and I agree. I agree that if you're in the region of any of these things, when they down one of these things, I hope you go there and try to take pictures and all that stuff. Because none of this makes any damn sense. Keep in mind, too, all these things that they shot down. So, for example, the Chinese spy balloon, we had photos of that from Montana all the way down. Sightings and everything like that where people are doing it. We have not had any verified sightings of this one that was shot down over Michigan. Nothing verified, okay? You have flicker on one surveillance camera I saw about the Michigan one. You have flicker, but you don't have it's not even verified, and it looks like it could be planets rotating because it was nighttime and it was a time lapse video, right? There's no video apparently that's been released, although they did say they have video of the Alaska downing. The Pentagon, I believe, said they do have video, but they haven't released it yet. There's no video related to the object that was downed in Central Yukon on Saturday. And there's no pictures or video showing the thing that was shot down yesterday in Michigan. So I don't know. I really don't. I don't know what it is or what we're all supposed to believe. But I feel like if the media is in unison on talking about something, and they're all promoting, they're promoting the China thing pretty hard. And if they're promoting the China thing pretty hard, it tells me China has nothing to do with it. And the Chinese government, this is the craziest part, the Chinese government-controlled media in China is literally saying Americans are being duped by their own government. My eyes are hurting. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, and these lights are bugging my eyes today. Just Having Fun said they said it was shaped like an octagon. Again, are you telling me that any of these fighter jets that were up in the air scouting this thing before they made the determination to shoot it down didn't have some video capabilities to be able to recover it? To recover any photos or anything like that? Someone said, no, Steve, it's been reported the windmills going up are what is killing whales. They did an autopsy. It's called... I have no idea what you're talking about. So you're saying windmills going up in the middle of the country are killing whales? That doesn't make any sense. Whales have been blowing up every single day. Whales have been blown up every single day. Salty Squirrel said, has anyone verified the train derailment in Ohio? Verified the explosion and all that? Yeah, there's hundreds of videos of it. And the journalists are there, including the journalist that was arrested. Now, if you watch that video, a News Nation reporter was arrested for holding a broadcast. And I can't give the benefit of the doubt to these cops. They seem racist as shit. Because a News Nation reporter was giving a live broadcast while Governor Beshear was holding a press conference, and it looked like a National Guard guy and two cops came up to him and started just, picked him. Didn't pick any other reporters. Picked him, told him to get out, told him to leave, and if he refused to leave, he'd be arrested. And he did. He's like, I'm reporting on this. Governor DeWine. What did I say? I don't remember. And they go from there. The whole thing is crazy. Kevin said he's talking about offshore wind farms. Yeah, fuck it. I'm not worried about whales. I'm worried about whatever is flying around in our sky, okay? I don't give a shit about whales. Here's the thing is I think we got to prioritize. Last night, I guess let's go into a mini rant just for a second. Maybe I need more coffee. I'm getting tired. But let's go into a mini rant. Last night, I was on Twitter, the entire Super Bowl, and I'm watching all these conservatives, right? All these people that are looking for something to be wrong about the Super Bowl so that way they can have something to rally against, right? Rail against. There were so many of them. There were so many of them that were on social media yesterday just looking for that one commercial, looking for that one bit, looking for that one thing that they could just go after and be like, see, woke, or whatever they're and it pisses me off. I hate it. We have so many bigger issues. You want to focus on whales and whales that are coming up dead? It happens every year. But sure, say it's because of wind farms. Make the connection of wind farms to sustainable energy, blah, blah, blah. Biden is bad. Okay, we see what you did there. But that's not the actual issue. You know what the actual issue is? 30,000 people dead in Turkey because of shady construction. The issue is thousands of people crossing into the United States every single day. That's the issue. The issue is people dying at record numbers because of overdoses, record numbers of drug violence, record numbers of straight up violence, robberies. That's what the media should be talking about. I don't give a shit about whales. I don't give a shit about whales when people are dying. Okay? I really don't. And I don't know why people would think that I did. Do you know what I mean? I don't think I've ever given that impression. Because I'm more concerned with what's actually going on, what's going to affect us every day. And sure, you could make the argument that, whales dying because of wind farms and blah, blah, blah. To me, that's the smallest thing. It's the smallest thing. Someone said, Steve does not care about whales. It's not new. Shooting down objects is new, and the corrupt politicians and actors are new. Yeah. I mean, corrupt politicians aren't new. But that's the truth. Is we are so hyper-focused. Think about, how many of you guys just sat silently on Twitter yesterday and just watched all the conservative talking heads, every big-name conservative that's on Twitter all the time, right? Every single one of them, every single time a commercial came on, they tried to give their approach. And when Rihanna did her halftime show, it sucked, okay? The halftime show sucked. But I rated it an 8 out of 10. You know why I rated it an 8 out of 10? Because she was freaking pregnant. She was pregnant, which is insane. For a pregnant woman to be strapped up to this thing, dancing and doing all this stuff, it's insane. The whole show itself sucked. But then, there were people on my Twitter feed that are like, it was Satan worshiping. Enough, guys. Seriously. Pay attention to the actual things that matter. If you want to say, because she wore red and all her dancers were wearing white, she was like the devil, and they were like white people praying to the devil. There was one person that wrote that shit on my chat. These people are crazy. I don't think it has anything to do with any of that. I think she was out there performing, and that outfit, that ugly-ass outfit she was wearing, was the only thing that showed that she was pregnant, it was the only thing that wasn't as revealed. I don't know what the hell it was, right? It was all stupid. It was all stupid. We have so many bigger issues, and that's what everybody wants to talk about, is talk about that. You know what I mean? Even Donald Trump did the same thing. He was shitting on Rihanna for her dancing and lip syncing and her clothing and all this stuff. And I'm like, shut the fuck up. Seriously, shut up. I wish everyone would just shut up. You know, I tried to just enjoy the damn football game, and then the halftime show sucked. I'll be honest. I was pissed off they didn't have any other singers, right? I got excited because I saw the drum set on the back of the stage, and I'm like, finally, they're going to have some other talent, some other musicians. Nope. But I'll tell you what, it wasn't the worst one I've seen. It wasn't the worst one I've seen. And I'm so surprised at how so many people that just constantly look for something that they can be like, see the left, woke, CRT, none of that shit matters right now because we're losing everything else. We're losing everything else. And I think everybody that is doing all that stuff, look at this. Undated E said she had a satanic star on her belt. What the fuck is a satanic star? And who the fuck cares? You know, I don't care. You don't know what a satanic star. Someone said, oh, she had a satanic star on her belt. You don't know what a satanic star is. Nobody knows what a satanic star is. I may have people coming in here. I may have to go to the front. I don't know. You guys look shady as shit. I need to put the camera up front. Can't tell what they're doing because they kind of have their backs turned to this thing. Creeping me out a little bit because they're both on their phones with their backs to this, but standing in front, and then one of them was just coming to peer in the window. So they might be looking for something. So Cornelius George said, you might not care, but they do, and they worship Satan. Billy Mack said, Steve, breaking news, this U-Haul attack might be a terrorist attack. Where are you seeing that it might be a terrorist attack? Billy Mack. Busted Beak said, come on, Steve, there are people that are educated about Satan worshiping, and you can't say they are stupid just because they believe in God. How do you know Rihanna doesn't believe in God? Huh? How do you know? You don't know what she believes in. You don't know what she believes in. I just think people need to stop. Twitter reports from what? Is there any actual verified thing saying it may be connected to terror in New York City? Have you seen any verified thing? I see the Twitter ones too. I haven't seen anything that's showing it's real. Someone said a pentagram is not inherently satanic. It's just a geometric shape. Yeah. Fuck. I'm gonna go try to catch UPS and see if he'll take these packages. Stand by. Here, I'll put this up. All right, it's going to be a few minutes because he's going to pick up these packages in a minute, some of them, but he's got to finish what he's doing. So I got to stand up front. So I will be back. This will start any minute. This is a great opportunity for you guys to go over to puretruthcoffee.com and join our coffee club. Join our coffee club. I'll be right back. Well, see, this is what happens when you order stuff. I forgot I had more ammo cans coming today, and I bought more ammo cans. So now I have a shit ton of ammo cans, and I didn't need all those ammo cans. Yeah, that sucks. So now I have too many ammo cans, but whatever. I'll use them, right? But I'm trying to see what else people are talking about. Someone said no straw on her belt. The only thing I see is the strap from keeping her falling. Yeah, on the back. Yeah, I don't know, dude. People just try to. I don't know if she was wearing a belt or not, but I don't really care. We have bigger issues, and if that's what people want to pick and choose and fight about, is that, well, I guess we could say we're in a good place. If you're gonna fight about what Rihanna is wearing during her performance, and that's gonna be the hill that you die on, okay. But I think we have bigger issues. Someone said I think she did all right being pregnant. Yeah. If you guys want the ammo cans, go order a Patriotic SF bundle. You can order one right now, and it's going to be all new products. So if you've already ordered a Patriotic SF bundle, just order another one now, because they're all new products, because they keep selling out. So even the cups, they're all different. The next cups are different. I was thinking about doing a shot glass combo. That's pretty cool, but I haven't done it yet. April is saying you need this hoodie. Tough. We don't make these hoodies anymore. These went out in the Patriotic SF bundles. So that's why you got to order them. You guys need the link to it. I'll put the link in the chat. So we're waiting on this White House press conference. It should have began approximately 11 minutes ago, but it hasn't yet. Bill Sawyer said, I do not like her or her music, but I have to say it was an amazing show considering it was live. I don't know if she was actually singing, though. That's debated on whether or not she's singing. So I may end up amending my store hours on Mondays. I may end up having to drive to New York every single Monday because I need to get my coffee quicker because you guys are buying coffee like crazy. So I may have to do that. But Someone said, I love that hoodie, and it would be huge advertising for Pure Truth. Yeah, it is a really nice hoodie. I know you guys like it. That's why you guys got to do the darn boxes. That's why it's so important for you guys to order the Patriotic as F bundles. Because I will be honest with you. The next bundles, after I get through the ones, so basically I could see online. So if you place a Patriotic as F bundle from now on, maybe it'll have this design. Maybe, not guaranteeing it, but maybe they'll have a hoodie. I'm just saying. Fox News was saying that 2 of the objects were actually carrying a payload. Yeah, well, I think the China object, and then they said the object that was shot down in, Mima's homestead. I ordered too quick and ended up with 2 of the same ones this month. Did you have the tumblers or did you have the whiskey glasses? Because what I've been doing now is when I make them, I'm trying to just pick from the different piles of books and the cups and all that stuff. So I'm trying to keep it diverse. So someone said, Brian said, Steve, do you think these balloons are a distraction from all the classified document scandal that you missed? Nah, I don't know. Teresa said, will you add that hoodie? I don't know, because this was a different design. I have to try to redesign this design. But I'll tell you what, guys, if you want to order a Patriotic as F bundle, and I see the orders from today on, I will include this hoodie. So choose a Patriotic as F hoodie bundle, and I will include this hoodie, because everyone keeps asking for it. So if you want a Patriotic as F bundle, it'll have the hoodie in it, and I'll just tell by the date, anyone who orders one today, going forward, and you order a hoodie, you'll get this. But just keep in mind, the last time I did it, I got complaints because they're like, "Oh, that's a shirt for your company and it's not patriotic." And I'm like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. I can't make everyone happy all the time. Someone said Pure Truth Coffee Company, Palestine, Ohio. Yeah, we've already talked about it, guys. You got to understand, we have been talking about stuff already, Emmett. So you can go back. We've already talked about the train derailment. We already talked about the explosion. We already talked about the fact, because we were trying to figure out what the government is trying to cover up. Because in my belief, this whole shoot down story is a story and it's a distraction. What are they distracting from? Are they distracting from the Palestine, Ohio train explosion? I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. But it's horrible and it's sad. Someone said, everybody loves this hoodie. Yeah, I know, but none of you guys are on the store. Unless this wasn't, oh yeah, people are on the store. Got it. But yeah, if you want this hoodie, this is not available in the store, but I'll put this in the bundle. So choose a hoodie for the Patriotic as F bundle, and then I'll just do everyone that orders today on for the next 20 days will get this hoodie. Someone said it's a cover up for Ukraine. Yeah, it could be. It could be. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, why would they have to cover up Ukraine? We've given them $100 billion. I don't think they have to cover up anything with Ukraine. Now they could be covering up the fact that Russian soldiers have 1,800 tanks lined up ready to go into Ukraine for like a big push. They could be arguing with that. They could be covering anything. I don't know. The freight broker email? Yeah, Freight Broker Live, Brian? Yeah, I do. So this is going to start soon. And this press conference is going to be pretty insane, I think. Also, my show yesterday is available if you Google or like look up on a podcast player, The Rational American. That's there. And what I'm going to try to do, you'll see it on YouTube, is I've just been putting the snippets of the individual videos, like a Rational American clip. I've been putting those out. Like tonight, I'm going to do a show. I don't really even know what I'm going to talk about tonight, but I'll do a full show tonight, even though I wasn't really planning on it, but I think I'm going to. Because when this starts and I switch the camera over, I'm going to go make myself another cup of coffee and also fill this and drink more water. And then when this presser's done, I'm going to close the store And then well, see, you know, the post office never came. Fuck me, bro. I got all those boxes up there. I'll schedule. I'm not bringing all those to the post office. I'll schedule them for them to pick up tomorrow. If I send an email for the hoodie wanted my Patriot bundle, do you reply? I emailed but never got a confirmation of the hoodie I wanted. I didn't see your email. Send it again, and unless I already sent it. But no, I didn't see it. Do I have a barista? Yeah, it's me. Coffee's free, so we have, like, you know, percolated coffee, brewed coffee, hot chocolate, and tea. It's available for free to whoever wants it. And I'm waiting on all the window designs. Once I get the rest of the window designs, we'll be good. And then people will know what we're doing. But right now, it's pretty bland advertising. So. But yeah, if you guys want to get this hoodie or any other hoodie, or you just want to support the show because you're awesome, order one of our Patriotic As F bundles. My suggestion to you, if you want to save the most money, do a yearly bundle. Because you're buying 12 bundles for the price of 10, plus you get a 20% off coupon for life in the store, specific to you. And because it's you, you'll be able to combine it with additional discounts. You just need to email us to do it. Like, for example, so this is starting, but go to the link in the chat and do the yearly subscription.
And good afternoon. Okay, just have one thing at the top to get us started. President Biden has made clear that the United States is prepared to provide any and all types of aid to the people of Turkey and Syria in response to the ongoing humanitarian crisis there, and we continue to take steps to do so. I'm sure you all saw during the Super Bowl yesterday to donate to earthquake relief efforts, and I want to point out some resources just for that. There's a page on USAID's has a list where they have a list of vetted organizations responding to this crisis should individuals want to contribute. You can find that at CIDI.org. In Turkey, our urban search and rescue teams continue their efforts assisting in live rescues over the weekend. We also continue to support the Turkish teams on the ground. U.S. military helicopters are providing critical lift for U.S. and international responders. Our teams also continue to conduct structural damage assessments of buildings with the hope of being able to clear as many as possible. To date, they have assessed more than 5,500 buildings, allowing thousands of people who are currently displaced to be able to return home. In Syria, cross-border aid shipments have increased. Yesterday, a fourth UN convoy of 10 trucks from a U.S.-supported humanitarian partner successfully crossed into Syria from Turkey. That brings the total to 52 UN trucks, but more needs to be done. It's critical for the Security Council to authorize 2 additional crossings to help deliver life-saving assistance. We cannot delay any longer. Again, I want to emphasize that any U.S. or international sanctions include exemptions for humanitarian, medical, food, and other aid. And one last thing before I turn it over to the Admiral, I just wanted to make sure we address this from the White House. I know there have been questions and concerns about this, but there is no indication of aliens or extraterrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Again, there is no indication of aliens or terrestrial activity with these recent takedowns. Wanted to make sure that the American people knew that, all of you knew that, and it was important for us to say that from here because we've been hearing a lot about it. I'm not.
Would you tell us?
I'm just, I loved E.T., the movie, but I'm just going to leave it there. With that, with all seriousness, I know there's a lot of questions about the flying objects. Admiral John Kirby is here with us today, and he's going to have a couple things to say at the top about it, and then take your questions, okay?
Thanks for clearing that up. Makes my job easier. I do have quite a few comments here at the top, so I do hope that you'll just bear with me and then be happy to take whatever questions you might have. So I'd like to begin today by updating you on our efforts to recover the debris of several objects that the United States Air Force shot down over the last few days, as well as that of the spy balloon belonging to the People's Republic of China. And I'd like to put into some context for you how we have worked and are still working to better understand the issue of high-altitude, low-speed craft. Now, let me start with the Chinese program. When President Biden came into office, he directed the U.S. intelligence community to do a broad assessment of Chinese intelligence capabilities and to ensure that we were working to detect and to protect against them. I think for reasons that you will all understand, we cannot publicly go into many details about how we discover and counteract foreign intelligence collection efforts, because much of what we have done and are doing is, of course, sensitive. But we were able to determine that China has a high-altitude balloon program for intelligence collection that's connected to the People's Liberation Army. It was operating during the previous administration, but they did not detect it. We detected it. We tracked it. And we have been carefully studying it to learn as much as we can. We know that these PRC surveillance balloons have crossed over dozens of countries on multiple continents around the world, including some of our closest allies and partners. We assessed that at this time, these balloons have provided limited additive capabilities to the PRC's other intelligence platforms used over the United States. But in the future, if the PRC continues to advance this technology, it certainly could become more valuable to them. The President also instructed the intelligence community to take a broad look at the phenomenon of unidentified aerial objects. Indeed, President Biden conducted the first ever daily intelligence briefing session devoted to this phenomenon back in June of 2021. He was briefed that this is not just an issue for the United States, but one for the rest of the world. And as I said, our friends and our partners are dealing with this as well. We worked on a bipartisan basis to stand up an office at the Pentagon to study this, in partnership with the intelligence community, academic institutions, and the private sector. These unidentified aerial phenomena have been reported for many years without explanation or deep examination by the government. President Biden has changed all that. We are finally trying to understand them better. Now, in light of the Chinese balloon program and this recent incursion into our airspace, the United States and Canada, through NORAD, have been more closely scrutinizing that airspace, including enhancing our radar capabilities, which, as the commander of NORTHCOM and NORAD, General Van Herk, said just last night, may at least partially explain the increase in the objects that have been detected. Slow-moving objects at high altitude with a small radar cross-section are difficult to detect on radar. Even objects the size of the Chinese spy balloon, which had a payload the size of roughly 3 school buses, were not picked up by previous administrations or other countries. We also know that a range of entities, including countries, companies, research, and academic organizations, operate objects at these altitudes for purposes that are not nefarious at all, including scientific research. That said, because we have not yet been able to definitively assess what these most recent objects are, we acted out of an abundance of caution to protect the security, our interest, and flight safety. In Saturday's case, we acted in consultation with the Canadian government, the President speaking personally with Prime Minister Trudeau. The spy balloon was, of course, different because we knew precisely where that was. As we have said, we do not assess that these most recent objects posed any direct threat to people on the ground, and we are laser focused on confirming their nature and purpose, including through intensive efforts to collect debris in the remote locations where they have fallen. In each instance, we have followed the same basic course. We assessed whether they posed any kinetic threat to people on the ground. They did not. We assessed whether they were sending any communication signals. We detected none. We looked to see whether they were maneuvering or had any propulsion capabilities. We saw no signs of that. And we made sure to determine whether or not they were manned. They were not. We did, however, assess that their altitudes were considerably lower than the Chinese high-altitude balloon and did pose a threat to civilian commercial air traffic. And while we have no specific reason to suspect that they were conducting surveillance of any kind, we couldn't rule that out. That is why the President, at the recommendation of the Secretary of Defense, the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the NORTHCOM NORAD commander, gave the order to shoot them down. These missions were completed successfully and safely. Efforts are actively underway right now at all sites to find what is left of those objects so that we can better understand and communicate with the American people what they are. I think it's important to remind the objects in Alaska and Canada are in pretty remote terrain, ice and wilderness, all of that making it difficult to find them in winter weather. The object over Lake Huron now lies in what is probably very deep water. So outside of recovery operations, what are we doing? Well, first, we are continuing to monitor. There are no active tracks today, but the professionals at NORAD will continue to do their important work. Secondly, we are consulting with allies and partners on the challenge of identified aerial phenomenon and how we can all work together to deal with that challenge. The President has directed the Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and the Director of National Intelligence to engage with their relevant counterparts to share information and to try to gain their perspectives as well. Again, this is an issue that affects everybody around the world. Third, we will continue to brief members of Congress and relevant state leadership on what we are doing and what we learn. The President has made this a very top priority. We have, over the course of just the last few days, and certainly over the course of last week, reached out to inform and brief members of Congress and relevant state governors of the operations that we were conducting and of the recovery operations that are underway. We've also kept Congress briefed generally on this issue of Chinese surveillance balloons, including classified briefings last August. And last week, administration officials provided classified briefings for all senators and all members of the House of Representatives on the PRC surveillance balloon. We fully expect and anticipate and support the ability to continue these briefings in the days ahead. And fourth, the President, through his National Security Advisor, has today directed an interagency team to study the broader policy implications for detection, analysis, and disposition of unidentified aerial objects that pose either safety or security risks. Every element of the government will redouble their efforts to understand and mitigate these events. And I'm happy to take some questions.
John, if the objects don't pose a military threat and they don't pose a threat to anybody on the ground, why shoot them down? Particularly because the military is routinely monitoring radar blips.
I kind of covered that in the opening statement. Two real reasons here. First, there was a very real potential risk to civilian air traffic. The one shot down on yesterday, was about 20,000 feet. And the two shot down Friday and Saturday were at about 40,000 feet. And as you know, transcontinental air traffic is roughly around 30,000 feet. It depends, of course, on weather. And so because we assessed that they weren't manned and weren't being controlled, therefore left to atmospheric conditions, the real risk to safety of flight was a problem. The second purpose, and I talked about this earlier too, was even though we had no indications that any of these three objects were surveilling, we couldn't rule that out. And so you want to err on the side of safety here in terms of protecting our national security interests, and the fact that these objects could have and likely did at some point in their path transit over potential military sites of ours or sensitive sites. So again, out of an abundance of caution for those two reasons, the President, with the recommendation of his military leaders, directed them to be taken down.
Because it's so unprecedented, should the public be hearing from the President directly on this?
We have been, I think, as transparent as we can be. I won't speak for the President's personal speaking schedule, but I mean, he has been deeply engaged in every one of these decisions. He's been kept informed, including as of this morning, on what's going on with recovery efforts, and he's very much staying on top of the issue and directing his team to make sure we are properly consulting and briefing not just members of Congress but state leaders as well, and of course, we're also doing what we can in the public sphere.
Can you please the European countries?
Wait a second, sir. Excuse me. Thank you, John. What is the President's standard going to be going forward about when he orders an unidentified object shot down?
It comes down to one simple formulation, and that's if at the recommendation of his military leaders he believes that the safety and security of the United States, the safety and security of the American people, his prime responsibility, warrant that kind of a decision.
So it's possible we could see these shoot downs on a regular basis like we saw over the weekend?
I don't think it's useful for me to get ahead of where we are right now. The president will always side on preserving and protecting the safety and security of the American people.
You said we're not flying any surveillance balloons over China. Are we flying any other kind of surveillance craft routinely over China?
We are not flying surveillance balloons over China. I'm not aware of any other craft that we're flying over into Chinese airspace.
And then finally, can you tell us anything more about this octagonal object? How big was it?
We're still trying to assess what that was. I'm not going to get into a description. I've seen the press reports about what it looked like. I think we all need to be humble here in terms of what our ability is to positively identify stuff from fighter aircraft that are going several hundred miles an hour past, essentially, in terms of relative motion, a stationary object that was not very big. So we don't know what this exactly looked like, and again, we're still not sure exactly what the purpose of it was or who owned it. But we hope to be able to find out more once we can recover the debris from that one and from the other two as well.
Let's go.
Just a few minutes ago, Prime Minister Trudeau said that there's some sort of pattern to the objects over the last few days. Is that something you can elaborate on, what sort of pattern the White House has seen?
I'm not familiar with the Prime Minister's comments, so I don't know if I should take a swing at that. I would just tell you that, going back to what I said before, these objects were not being maneuvered. They did not appear to have any self-propulsion. So the likely hypothesis is that they were being moved by the prevailing winds. And maybe perhaps that's what the Prime Minister is talking about. I don't want to speak for him, but certainly as the prevailing winds, particularly at that altitude, go west to east across the North American airspace, I mean, there was a general common movement in that regard.
You spoke at the top about kind of reassessing radar given what happened with the initial balloon. Can you give us a sense, can we expect, should we assume that this is the regular number of these objects over the United States, that they've always been there and they just haven't been looked at the same way? Or is there any reason to expect that this is more than usual that are flying over?
So two thoughts there. I mean, I think we can all get our heads around the fact that there are sometimes things floating at high altitudes for various purposes. As I said, scientific research, weather balloons, all manner of innocuous craft can be aloft at high altitudes. I don't think that that's necessarily unusual here. It's difficult for me to say exactly what you can expect going forward. One of the reasons that we think we're seeing more is because we're looking for more. As you heard General Van Herk mention last night, they have modified the filters and the gains, as we call it, of the radar capabilities to look more discreetly at high altitude, small radar cross section, and low speed objects. And so if you do that, anybody that's operated a radar will know you can set the parameters, and if you set the parameters in such a way that to look for a certain something, it's more likely that you're going to find a certain something.
Given all you've discussed here and the actions the administration is taking and what people have learned, Chinese spy balloon this year and previous years, these unidentified objects that we shoot down, they might have a question. When it comes to these higher altitudes, are America's borders secure?
The president takes, as I said earlier, he takes our national security extremely seriously. He has no higher responsibility than the safety and security of the American people. And I don't think you need to look any further, quite frankly, than the decisions he's made in just the last week to 10 days to evidence that.
But it feels like he's plugging holes. Like these are vulnerabilities that we are discovering in real time.
You're making an assumption there that I don't know that the analysis will actually bear out.
Brian in the back.
Thank you very much. The president gave the order to shoot down the object over Lake Huron yesterday. Where was he? What kind of information did he have when he gave that order? What was briefed to him? And how did he anticipate the outcome of that?
He was here in the White House. He was kept constantly informed by his national security team and certainly by the military. He made that decision. Couldn't give you the exact time on the clock, but it was, I believe, mid to late morning, and then it was executed in the afternoon.
Were there contingencies in place in case there was a reaction from a foreign government in reaction to shooting that object down? Was the president anticipating the one yesterday? Yeah.
Well, it was shot over. I mean, it was shot over Lake Huron and landed in what we believe to be the Canadian side of the lake. So we were obviously in constant communication and consultation with our Canadian counterparts, and they are rightly, because of where we think it splashed down. I mean, they're sort of in concert with the U.S. Coast Guard, but they are also involved in trying to locate the debris right now. But there was good communication with our Canadian allies.
Signs of a foreign government taking a special interest in that object from yesterday?
No.
Reacting in an unusual way?
No.
Good. SB in the back.
Thanks. John, two questions. One, you mentioned early on that the China balloon might have been giving limited additive capabilities. I assume you're meaning onto their satellite surveillance. Can you specify what exactly it's getting from a balloon that they're not getting from orbiting satellites that go over us like dozens of times?
With the caveat that we haven't fully recovered everything, though we have recovered some things from the bottom of the Atlantic, and we're analyzing that. But with that caveat that we don't know exactly what this balloon was surveilling or what its capabilities were. So just in general, and that is an important caveat that I'd like you to remember. When you are at a lower altitude than space, you could perhaps get a better fidelity of imagery, for instance, of things on the ground. When you are not moving at the speed of a satellite, and therefore, only getting seconds over a site, when you can maneuver left, right, slow down, speed up, like this thing could, then you can loiter. If you can loiter, you can soak in a little bit more. You can spend more time over a sensitive site.
Some of their satellites are in geostationary orbit. I mean, they're just sitting there gathering signals intelligence, right? So what is the benefit? I mean, is it just to see what kind of fidelity?
We're going to learn more. I'd rather not go into any more detail than that right now. We're going to learn more. And frankly, I think that's a terrific question you should be asking Beijing.
And one last one. You said that the other objects shot down were not able to transmit, or were not transmitting signals, that they did not have any propulsion. Did the China balloon, did that have any, was it emitting signals back?
I'm not going to go into more detail about the capabilities of that. We are going to be studying it and analyzing it. There is no question in our minds that that system was designed to surveil, that was an intelligence asset. I'll leave it there.
Has there been any outreach from anywhere in the administration to the kinds of companies that produce weather balloons or other craft that would fit these descriptions that might be from the commercial or corporate world to say, is this yours, or any kind of outreach? Or have you been hearing from anyone who might say, we have ours, they're in this area? Is any of that going on now?
I don't know of any conversations right now, Kelly, but one of the reasons why the president directed Mr. Sullivan to put together an interagency effort is to take a long look at that and try to learn a little bit better about who is up at that altitude doing what for completely legitimate purposes. I think we all recognize we need to probably have a better sight picture on that, and that's why the president wants this interagency effort to take a look.
And what kind of intelligence might be happening in terms of the diplomacy that's going on or whatever, if these are state-owned objects?
I'm not sure I understand what you mean.
Is there a network of conversations that might be happening where someone might be able to say, based on this octagonal description, that, hey, that sounds like the so-and-so? I mean, is there some conversations that are happening that might be able to give us some descriptions?
I mean, the short answer to your question is yes, and I talked about that in my opening statement. The president also directed Secretary Blinken, Secretary Austin, Director Haynes to have these kinds of conversations with our allies and partners around the world, to share with them what we're learning, but also to get their perspectives.
Chinese were quick to say it's ours, but it was for commercial purposes.
Yeah, again, we're going to have those kinds of conversations with our allies and partners to see what kind of experiences that they have had, what we can learn from them, what perhaps they can learn from us.
Are we still with object, or can we call them balloons?
Still with object.
And just to follow up on Kelly's
And I
question,
won't mess that up today.
on the corporate angle, is there any expectation that this is going to affect the executive order on surveilling the U.S. companies and what they're doing in China and their
I know of no
operations
such
there?
change to that executive order.
Okay, and then is there, and you said a moment ago that there's no knowledge of a U.S. balloon or other craft over Chinese territory, just being cognizant of the fact that China has a different definition of what their territory is than the United States. Is there any U.S. surveillance aircraft over Taiwan, over the South China Sea that would fit into that?
There is no U.S. surveillance aircraft over Chinese in Chinese airspace.
Okay, even Chinese claimed airspace.
There is no U.S. surveillance aircraft in Chinese airspace.
Okay, and then just finally, is there any new formal approach that's being developed as far as how you're going to deal with these things on a systematic basis going forward? Is there
Well,
review?
again, that's exactly what the president wants Mr. Sullivan to run as a process, an interagency process, to help us, as I said in my opening statement, get around the policy implications here, and whether or not there needs to be any policy changes going forward.
Thanks, John. No precedent for U.S. fighters taking down objects over U.S. territory, as far as I'm aware of. I guess my question is, you talked about the tweak in the radar systems.
Yeah.
Has there been a tweak in the threshold for the Pentagon presenting to the president signing off on military action related to anything over our airspace?
I'm not sure I'm following what you
In the
mean.
wake of the Chinese spy balloon,
Yeah.
the radars were tweaked, which is why you think you're seeing some of these things.
Right.
Has the decision about, or has the threshold for the use of fighters to take down objects also been tweaked? Has it been lowered? Has it been changed? We've never seen this before. All of a sudden, we've seen three.
No,
three
actually,
days.
I'm sorry I didn't understand it at first. No, I mean, and you heard General Van Herk talk about this last night. He's using established protocols to engage craft in the air, aircraft in the air, that can be legitimately brought down. And as he said last night, the best way to do that, certainly in a timely and efficient, effective way, was through fighter aircraft and through these Sidewinder air-to-air missiles. And they looked at, and he talked about this, they looked at other options to try to bring them down, to include gunfire, but that would have presented a greater risk to the pilots themselves. So this was the safest, most effective way to do that. Now, where we go from here, I think we just don't know right now in terms of whether there needs to be threshold changes, as you put out. I think it's important to just take a step back here, and remember what the president did was ordered these actions with the safety and security of the American people foremost in his mind, and there were very good reasons to do it. The military then, once given an order, determines how they're going to execute that order. General Van Herk decided that the best way to do this was with Sidewinder missiles and fighter aircraft.
And just to quickly put a sharper point on it, this isn't reactive to the Chinese spy balloon in the sense of there was political pressure, and so we are going to act quickly to take down any objects over our airspace because of the pressure that came from, say, Republicans.
These were decisions based purely and simply on what was in the best interest of the American people.
Thanks, Karine. Thanks, John. John, does the U.S. government have video or imagery of these latest intercepts, and will you guys be releasing it?
You'd have to talk to DOD about that, Jackie. I don't know what kind of imagery might exist, and they'd be the one to talk about whether they're releasable or not. Obviously, certainly with respect to the spy balloon, we want to make sure that we are gleaning what we can from this imagery so that we can answer your questions better. And so to what degree there is or will or will not be public release, I do want to stress that, we're going to want to make sure that we have had a chance to analyze that imagery for ourselves as much as possible.
Following up on Phil's question, I guess what we're trying to discern is, you said earlier, we're looking for these more, so we're finding more. And so
I said that could be one reason why we're finding more.
one reason, but
what we're getting at is, why are we all of a sudden shooting them down? And to add to that, the NORAD commander, for instance, said that when the first spy balloon was crossing over American and then Canadian airspace, one of the reasons that he couldn't take action was because his assessment was that it didn't pose a military threat or have hostile intent, and so he couldn't take action there. It seems like maybe that protocol has changed, or his ability to make that call where there is not an imminent threat militarily or physically might have changed. So can you explain to us what changed? Why are we shooting them down all of a sudden?
I kind of feel like I took care of that in my opening statement, but I'm happy to revisit it. I mean, really two reasons here. And these are certainly in both cases, they're different. I mean, I think we need to separate the Chinese spy balloon. We knew what it was. We knew where it was going. We knew what it was trying to do. And by not taking it down, I mean, that was also a huge payload. Like I said, the size of 3 school buses. So really the option of shooting that down over land wasn't a legitimate option because somebody really could have gotten hurt. And we used the time available to us, knowing what this thing was all about. We used that time to study it, to learn from it, to collect on it, then taking it down at the earliest opportunity in the water. And we have retrieved some of that debris off the bottom, and we're studying that. Hang on a second, I'll be right there. But so let's separate that from these other 3. And these other 3, what are some of the differences? Altitude's a big difference.
Is that the threshold now? A risk to civilian aircraft?
Let me get through this, and then altitude's different. The Chinese spy balloon was at 60,000 plus, well outside commercial air traffic concerns. These 3 were right on the border of it, so there was a legitimate concern there. Chinese spy balloon, we knew exactly what that thing was, and we knew what it was trying to do. And we saw it, Jackie, as it slowed down, sped up, maneuvered a little bit, trying to get a look at what we believed to be sensitive military sites. These other 3, they didn't have propulsion, they weren't being maneuvered, it was basically they were being driven by the wind. We don't know for sure whether they had a surveillance aspect to them, but we can't rule it out. So there was enough uncertainty there that, again, out of an abundance of caution, doing the prudent thing, the president directed that they get taken down. And I get where you're going. Is this the standard going forward? And we're gonna dive into this. We're gonna learn from these 3 events. We're gonna continue to study what happened. We're gonna have an interagency effort that helps us get around the policy implications here, and we'll see where this goes. But bottom line for President Biden is, you got to do the right thing for the American people, for our safety and security.
Is it strange that no one's claimed these yet as theirs?
I can't say whether that's strange or not, since we're sort of in uncharted territory here, no pun intended. But we don't know, and I suspect that. Go ahead. I'm basically done.
Okay.
I'm basically done.
Sir, what's your name, sir?
Bo from CBS.
Okay.
Has the payload been recovered from South Carolina yet?
The
large so-called payload that's...
Yeah, as I said, some of the debris, certainly they were able to take things off the surface like the next day, actually that afternoon, some of the balloon fabric. And in the days since, they have been able to recover some, not all, of the payload that sank to the bottom of the Atlantic. It's in about 45 feet of water. Weather conditions are pretty tough off the coast right now. Like today, for instance, they have not been able to get into the water and dive on it. But over the course of the weekend, they were able to raise some of the debris, including some of the electronics and some of the structure.
Do you have an expectation of when all that payload is going to be collected?
I don't. I wish if I could tell you that, I'd be a very wealthy man. I mean, it could take a long time, given the sea state and weather conditions and the degree to which we have to protect the safety of the divers.
And one last question. You said you were unsure of the surveillance capabilities of these latest objects. Last week we were told several times that every precaution was taken to ensure that the sensitive installations were covered. We don't know exactly what you all did, but has there been a...
Nor are you going to find out.
Well, has there been a posture change nationwide regarding all of these sensitive sites?
If you're
proactively?
If you're... let me just put a fork in this. If the implication is that there's some sort of blanket Now, security policy for every base on the continental United States, the answer is no. We do have protocols, particularly when we know that surveillance is going to occur, like in the Open Skies Treaty with Russia, for instance, when all that's scheduled and laid out, and when you know that there's going to be an open skies flight by Russia, you take the appropriate actions. And that's what we did in the case of the Chinese spy balloon, and we'll always do that. I will never talk about what precautions we're going to make at any given base at any given time, but we always do what we need to do to protect our nation's secrets. I won't talk about it any more than that.
Okay, we have to move on. Way in the back.
Thank
Way in the
you.
back.
Thank you very much.
No.
Iraq's?
Right there.
Okay, Admiral, you started the briefing by talking about the president's involvement in this. The report from ODNI recently that goes over this. In that ODNI report about unidentified aerial phenomena, it says there were 247 unidentified aerial phenomenon reports since March of 2021, some of which have, quote, demonstrated unusual flight characteristics or performance capabilities. So can you say why the president just recently, within the last couple of weeks, started ordering some of these objects to be shot down, and why there weren't any orders throughout 2021 or throughout 2022?
It's very simple. It comes down to what sort of safety and security threats and risks we're talking about, and also it comes down to a lot to our ability to track, detect, and engage. Having come from the Pentagon, I can tell you that some of these UAPs, while we may not be able to know what each and every one is doing, some of the big concern there was that many of those reports were happening around our training ranges, were happening around air training ranges. So combat pilots were seeing these things, and there was a potential impact to the safety of flight of our pilots. But you may not have but a fleeting moment on some of these things to see it. And so it's different. In these cases, we had time to detect, time to analyze, time to engage, time to make those kinds of decisions. But it all comes down to safety and security, first and foremost.
So is the time, though, is a matter of capability? You have better capabilities now than we did back
We are
then?
certainly improving our capabilities now, and as I said, the president has directed the national security team to dig into this deeper from an interagency effort and to see what, if other improvements might need to make. I mean, look, just by adapting the way the radar parameters are set, we have improved our ability to detect. And again, I said that could be one reason why we're seeing more.
Thank you so much. So you said that the debris fell on frozen waters or in remote areas, and these are also not huge objects, and they were shot down by missiles. So how optimistic are you that you will be able to collect enough debris to really get an idea of what these objects were?
We won't know until we get on site to see. How much damage was done, not just by the missile strike, but by the fall from a very high altitude, and as you said, in one case on sea ice. So we'll just have to see.
Yeah, thank you, John. Does Secretary of State Blinken plan to meet with his Chinese counterpart this week at the Munich Security Conference?
I'd refer you to the State Department for the Secretary's schedule. I don't have visibility on that.
Okay, and have you been able to learn more, or not you, but the government, since these objects were shot down? I mean, you just alluded to the fact that you've not been able to get on site yet. I mean, has there been any additional information since one was shot down Friday and then over the weekend?
Because these are just happened over the last few days and we haven't found the debris, there's still a lot more we expect to be able to learn. And I think once we can get to the debris, and I'm not forecasting how easy that's going to be. They all three have fallen into some pretty remote, difficult areas to reach. But we're going to do everything we can to find them, and that will tell us a lot. Since I know you didn't ask about this, but in the case of the Chinese spy balloon, we have been able to recover some debris and some of the electronics and even some of the structure from the bottom of the Atlantic, and that will also tell us a lot, and we're learning from it right now.
No, we gotta get everybody, everybody.
These Chinese spy balloons have been flying over U.S. military
When do you think that you'll
installation
have all the debris, or
outside
as much
the
debris
US.
as you can get from all the sites?
I'm sorry, when do we think we'll...
When do you think you'll be satisfied that you've gotten as much debris as you can from all the sites?
I wish I could give you a date certain on the calendar. I can't do that. We're working to surveil them right now. In fact, there's an AVP-3 that's flying over the site in Alaska. The Canadians are in charge, obviously, of the one in the Yukon. And now the Coast Guard is in Lake Huron working with the Canadian Coast Guard to do the same thing there. So we're working this as hard as we can, and we will keep you informed as we learn more. As I'm doing today, divers in the water over the weekend. We have recovered debris off the coast of South Carolina. We'll keep you informed.
Will you brief Congress this week?
There have been briefings as early as late last week, and we do fully expect that there will be additional briefings this week, perhaps even later today.
We're running out of time,
Just on
guys. Go ahead.
Beijing's response, they've been very harsh. They said the first balloon was an accident and the last 3 objects were not theirs. How do you respond to that? Has White House had conversations with Beijing about this, and can you share a little bit about that?
We know the first one was Chinese. They admitted it. They claimed it was a weather balloon. We know it's not. These 3, we don't have attribution for right now. We don't know who owns them. So I'm not going to take anybody's word at face value here until we can get a chance to take a look at them. Are we in touch with the Chinese? We have an embassy in Beijing. We maintain routine diplomatic conversations, and we have had over that spy balloon incident, we did have private discussions with senior Chinese leaders.
Thanks. Thanks, Admiral. I know you just said that, are you in touch with the Chinese? Is there any effort to arrange a call with President Xi at all?
I'm not aware of any plans for that.
If I could just ask a question on Israel. Does the president plan to speak with PM Netanyahu about the moves his government is making to try to weaken the Israel judiciary?
I have no calls or conversations to read out, but we are deeply concerned by some of the moves here with respect to settlements.
Spy balloon flying over U.S. military
The Moldovan president just recently has said that there was a Russian plot to sort of overthrow her government and break Moldova's path to Europe. It was something that President Zelensky himself had also warned about. What is the U.S.'s assessment of this possible plot, and more broadly, what is the concern about Russia's attempts to sort of influence these pro-European governments in the region, even though it's right now focused on Ukraine, about other countries in the region?
So what I'll say about that is deeply concerning reports, certainly not outside the bounds of Russian behavior. And we absolutely stand with the Moldovan government and the Moldovan people.
But you have no confirmation from the U.S. side of intel?
I know of no independent confirmation, but we're certainly not questioning the capacity, the will of the Russians and Mr. Putin to try to do that. It's perfectly right, a page right out of his playbook.
Yes, I was going to ask you a question. just one quick question. Have you established whether these were lighter than air or heavier than air?
We have not.
Okay, but we have to get to everyone, okay? You already had a question. Go ahead.
All 3 shoot-downs in the U.S. occurred offshore, but the one in Canada occurred over land. So is it effective U.S. policy to not shoot down these objects over land for safety concerns?
I wouldn't read into this some kind of policy decision. We will always, in deciding whether something should be taken down or not, consider the impact on the ground.
When the Chinese balloon came down, the Chinese Foreign Ministry indicated that they would respond in a way that they were prepared to. If it turns out that the other objects are also Chinese in origin, is there a menu of options prepared to the president for how we would react?
Terrific hypothetical. We're just not there yet.
Yeah, so more like it's a relationship issue. You have the Chinese spy airship that went through. You've got China buying more oil from Russia. You've got China, opening up cases in the U.S. trying to steal U.S. technology from universities. President Xi is going to be meeting with the Iranian president. At what point do you review a big review of the U.S. relationship with China? And at what point does the president ask for a call from President Xi?
Again, I don't have a call to talk about today. Let me just, again, level set here, and I know I'm running close on time, but Sorry.
No, it's not your fault.
But the president met with President Xi at Bali at the G20. The whole purpose of that discussion was to move this relationship forward in a better way. Most consequential bilateral relationship in the world. The president knows that. And he wanted to move that relationship forward in a better way. And Secretary Blinken was dang near wheels up, trying to head to Beijing to have those kinds of conversations, to get some of these communication vehicles and venues back on track, whether it's climate change or military to military. We were willing to do that. We were looking forward to doing that. And then the Chinese decided to fly a surveillance balloon over the continental United States, and it wouldn't be inappropriate to have that meeting. When are those discussions going to get back on the calendar? I couldn't tell you. As Secretary Blinken has said, it'll happen at the appropriate time. Now is not that time. It doesn't mean, and people shouldn't take away from this, that all communication has been severed between the United States and China, that Beijing and Washington aren't talking. We still have an embassy there. We still have an ability through Secretary Blinken's good offices to communicate with senior Chinese leaders. Unfortunately, the Chinese military is not interested in talking to Secretary of Defense Austin, but there are still ways to communicate. And the president would tell you that now's exactly the time to at least preserve some of those lines of communication so that we can avoid miscalculation.
Set back the relationship. Has this list of things set back the relationship?
It has certainly not helped us move forward in the way that we wanted to move.
All right, last question in the back, and that's going to be the last question for the briefing. No, sir. No, sir. No, right here.
James, okay. Me? Oh, thank you. Last Friday, you answered my question about President Biden's message during his trip to Poland. But I'm wondering why he specifically chosen Poland for this trip, since so many countries are helping Ukraine, and he visited Poland 11 months ago.
The president's really looking forward to this trip. Certainly not lost, I'm sure, on any of you that it's timed around what sadly is going to be a year of war in Ukraine. Poland has been a strident ally, a tremendous supporter of Ukraine, and a generous host, not only to American troops, but millions of Ukrainian refugees who have fled there in safety. The Poles are, pardon the pun, but they're punching well above their weight, and we very much appreciate all the support. The president wants to thank President Duda in person. He wants to thank the Polish people in person. He wants to make broader points about how it's important for the kind of courage and unity we're seeing out of Poland and so many NATO allies continues sadly into what will now be a second year of war.
What's the message to
James,
the people
you
of
have the last
Poland?
question.
Okay,
James,
thank you very much.
We actually have to end the briefing.
Thank you, Karine, and thank you, Admiral. Naturally, I have two questions. One on the unexplained aerial phenomena, and the second will be on the Russia-Ukraine war. My understanding is that the top officials of the Pentagon, when asked explicitly if they were ruling out any kind of extraterrestrial presence, said they weren't ruling anything out, and yet at the beginning of today's briefing, albeit with her usual winning smile, Ms. Jean-Pierre seemed to rule out any extraterrestrial activity.
I don't think the American people need to worry about aliens with respect to these craft, period. I don't think there's any more that needs to be said there.
On the Russia-Ukraine war, as we approach the anniversary, in the days immediately after the commencement of the conflict, we heard from senior U.S. officials such as the CIA director in congressional testimony that President Putin had been observed by U.S. officials to have constricted his decision-making circle during the pandemic, that he was making erratic decisions, and these were seen to have played out in what happened on the battlefield. As we approach this year anniversary, what do we observe about President Putin's decision-making now, the caliber of his decision-making, and also his grip on power in his own country? Has any of that changed over the course of the year?
I can't speak to the way Mr. Putin gets advised and how he, who's advising him and what they're saying. I couldn't begin to get inside Kremlin decision-making processes. Clearly, Mr. Putin is not making good decisions. Shouldn't have invaded in the first place. This is a country that posed no threat to anybody, let alone Russia. Clearly, He hasn't made sound decisions, nor has his military, with respect to their performance on the battlefield. They're still suffering some of the same problems they were a year ago. Logistics, sustainment, integration of joint fires, manpower personnel, unit cohesion. I could go on and on. The Russian military is still struggling. They have not surmounted these problems. And it's borne out by the fact that, he continues to change generals the way I change socks. So, I mean, he's still struggling.
Sorry, guys, we have to end the briefing. I got to go into the Oval, but I will see you tomorrow. And thank you for the compliment on the smile. I appreciate that. But I'll be back tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Have a great one.
What's up? Hey, so I'm trying to figure out how to download music from Spotify on my phone so I can listen to it offline. And it says it's super easy to do, except it's not, because it's not working. And I know you guys don't give a crap, but there's no cell service at the gym, and I need to be able to listen to music. So if any of you guys know how to download music with Spotify, let me know, because I just don't get it. I'll be honest, I wasn't even listening to that press conference because it sucks. Do you know what I mean? They're going to lie. Why am I going to bother? How the fuck do I download music? What the fuck? I don't know how to download it. You go to settings and then go to download. What? So this is a playlist. So where's settings? So like, oh, right there. So, but where's download? Playback, offline mode. Oh, okay. Well, it doesn't say how to download it, though. That's settings. What the fuck, bro? You gotta be smarter than the device, I guess, right? I'm connected to download music and podcasts. Yeah, but it doesn't let me download it. Oh, I see. I got it. So I wonder how long this takes. I thought one thing that was kind of interesting during that press conference is when John Kirby was speaking in the beginning, I wonder how long this is going to take to download. Anyone have an idea how long a playlist takes to download? I don't know. Many of you guys were asking that you wanted this hoodie, right? I'm going to make it available to everyone that orders a patriotic box going forward from today. So you don't need to choose a hoodie or send an email. Basically, this is going to be the hoodie that you get if you don't send me an email that you want a particular hoodie. So you can get it right now by just ordering one of the Patriotic as F bundles. And now I got a ton of ammo cans because I ordered too many. So I need you guys to buy some bundles. I have high-speed internet here, but I don't know how this works. Yeah, right. I'm not watching that State of the Union address again. Are you kidding me? You know what I'm saying? You gotta be smarter than the device, I guess. Oh, okay. So it's almost done. All right. Wow, it downloads pretty quick, huh? So it downloaded that whole playlist, did it? Cancel. All right, nice. So I downloaded that whole playlist. But yeah, if you guys want to get this hoodie, because I know a lot of you guys do, because you all asked. I know one person ordered it thus far. Well, two. You can do so by going to the link that's in the chat and ordering a Patriotic as F bundle. And then any bundle that we get, this will be the optional hoodie that you get. Jason Jones said, Rihanna's a joke. She's another America-hating piece of trash. Oh, where are you getting that she's an America-hating piece of trash? Because I didn't know. She doesn't like Donald Trump. She didn't like his immigration policies. That's a given. I don't know how you could make the assumption, Jason Jones on Facebook, that she is a America-hating piece of trash, as you say. I don't know. If you think just because someone doesn't like Donald Trump, they hate America, I would have to disagree. If you close your other apps and don't let them run in the background, it downloads faster. Yeah, it should be good now. But I don't know. I'm so tired of the divisiveness. Like literally, I was paying my taxes this morning and I was talking to the tax lady and I was like, you know what? I'm so upset with this. I may just run for border supervisors just to fix the taxes. With the amount of taxes that I have to pay every year. Do you know that the amount of personal income taxes that I have to pay in the state of Virginia are $7,000 per year? That doesn't include our house. That's just for vehicles. It's freaking insane. It's insane. Someone said not all songs are downloaded. Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it is. Someone else said the State Department is speaking in 20 minutes. It's okay. Because here's what I learned from today's press conference. They're not going to tell us anything about these balloons. And Biden has no intention of telling the American people anything about these balloons either. A lot of us wanted them to do it, or wanted him to say it. I did too. I wanted to hear something, but whatever. Someone said they did ask Beyonce to do the Super Bowl and she said no, and Rihanna said yes, and they gave her hell about it. Yeah. Someone said, when you're talking about taking our guns away, then yeah, you're an American-hating piece of shit. I'll say that to you and anybody else's face that questions that. No, you won't, you fucking sissy. Don't say you're going to say shit to my face. 121 North Main Street, Woodstock, Virginia. I hate all these computer tough guys. Fucking idiots. And I've never heard her say she wants to take guns. The only thing I've heard her, she's made negative comments about Donald Trump's immigration policies. That's the only thing I've heard. Don't act like you're a tough guy on computers, man. It's like weak as shit. You're probably an old, shriveled up 60-year-old. That's probably what you are. With old balls. Gross. Disgusting. I hate computer tough guys. It's kind of like what I hate on social media. All these wannabe conservative political commentators that are out here talking about toxic masculinity. I gotta go. Hold on. I need to put I need to get that camera so it links into here. That's what I need to do. I do need customer service reps. A customer did come in the store. Sorry, it was an attorney from across the street. He said he's been waiting every single day for the store to open. I'm like, we've been open for a while. So now you know. But when I hear, because I have a bell, so I hear the bell every time the door opens. So, and of course, it's just me. I'll come up with something now when I'm live during the day that I could press a button and say, customer's in the store, I'll be right back. Or something like that. But, yeah. Now the post office, the postal guy sneaking stuff in there, he sees all the packages. Oh, I gotta go. Sorry. That's the postal worker coming to grab all the packages, all the patriotic boxes that I sent out. You can hear me up front when I'm talking? I talk loud though. Can you hear me up front when I'm talking? Why? Oh, someone said nope. Someone said he needs a good mic. See, I could wear a lapel mic. That's one of the ideas I had, is that I'd wear a lapel mic and then I could be up front talking and you guys could still hear it. That was one of the ideas. Yeah, I didn't think this microphone would broadcast all the way in the front. But if you guys want to get the patriotic box, do it. I'm telling you, these boxes are sick. Okay, it makes me so happy to do them. It makes me so happy with these boxes. They're the best boxes we've ever done, to be completely honest with you. Anyway, how many of you guys gotten the ammo cans? They're awesome, right? So we're putting books in, and I'm switching up the books. Like I've got, like I forgot what the title of Reagan is a Badass or something like that is one of the books that's going out, and then there's two by Brian Kilmeade that so basically what I'm doing now is I'm trying to just keep it. It's kind of like a mystery box. You don't know what you're getting, but you get a bunch of stuff. Is Virginia City a single party consent state? Yeah, but I could also just put a note up in the door and say live streaming audio, every time you come in. Plus I got cameras and shit in the front. They all see it. Are the ammo cans sealed? Yeah, they're grade 1 ammo cans. So it's got a good seal, everything in it. So they're good. They're all grade 1. Do they seal rather than when closing? Yes. They're waterproof cans. They're grade 1 ammo cans. Brad said the ammo cans are amazing. Yeah. Yep, they're awesome. And eventually what we'll do is I want to get to the amount, or I want to get big enough that we can that I can do laser engraving on the clean side of the ammo can. So we have one side of the ammo can has all the print on it from the military, and then the other side is plain. I want to get an engraver so I can engrave. Sorry, I'm waiting for him to pull up his truck so I can load them all, because these are a lot of them. But yeah. But yeah, you should all go and purchase the ammo can bundles right there. Each one comes with a custom piece of drinkware, a book, a hat, stickers, patches, either 2 t-shirts or a hoodie, depending on what you choose. And the way I'm going to do it now that I have all these extra bundles, if I make a couple more sales today, I'm going to buy even more stock for the extra bundle. So now when you place an order for a bundle, it's going to take me about a week to get caught up. But when you place an order for shit, he's here. All right, guys, I'll see you tonight, probably around 8 o'clock, okay? All right, bye.